where policy meets politics with Alveda King and Emmanuel Boose. Now here's your hosts, Alveda King and Emmanuel Boose.
I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream.
Hey, Emmanuel, Mama King, loving to get this information out to our listeners.
I'd like to welcome healthcare expert Jeff Kanter, co-founder of My Academy of Health Excellence. Welcome, Jeff.
Could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company?
Absolutely. I've been in the health insurance industry for over 30 years, so I've seen all the kind of ebb and flow of the various forms of insurance. And what we basically have done is taken advantage of the idea of medical cost sharing as an alternative to the typical insurance model, which basically is a more ethical and direct payment methodology for consumers, and it also is a lot less expensive. Now, the problem has become that we've looked to others like Washington or insurance companies for our help, and really we have the ability to help ourselves. And so we're back to the idea of it's me and my doctor, and everything is to support the two of us in our decisions as opposed to dictating to us what to do.
So let me ask you this question. Jeff Kanter, that's how you pronounce it, correct? Kanter.
Yes, Kanter, K-A-N-T-E-R, yes.
Okay, so if it's not so could you please explain if it's not health, if health sharing is not insurance, what is it?
Well, I tell everybody to think of it in relationship to banking. There's commercial banks and there are credit unions.
Okay.
So this is more of the credit union approach. It's from the consumers and the people at the credit union actually own the bank for all intents and purposes, as opposed to a bunch of shareholders like a commercial bank where it's owned commercially like Chase Bank. So it's a little different approach. It's more people-oriented. And also, as a consequence of being operated on a much slimmer margin, it makes for much lower pricing.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So, does everyone have access to this type of healthcare sharing?
They do. It's a group-based mentality, so anybody and everybody can sign up. The only little caveat is we do have the ability to have a 36-month look back. So in our first year, anybody that has a major condition, we're not going to do much in the way of sharing. So we're not going to be for the person, just like anything. There's not enough, there's no program in America or anything that's good for every single solitary person. It's going to be good for an awful lot, but not everybody. And so for people that are undergoing chemotherapy right now or things of that nature, we're not going to be suitable for them. But for anybody else, which is about 98% of the rest of the population, this is a very good alternative.
Do a person need to be they need to be in excellent health to be a part of this program?
No, we take people that have had cancer in the past, that are type 1 diabetics currently, and so on. It's just if they're undergoing some extremely expensive treatments currently, we're just not going to take on any immediate bills. In other words, they have to either be in remission or have recovered for a little time window, or they're just well maintained. Let's say I have high blood pressure, but I'm on some medication and it's well controlled. So again, it's for about 95+% of the people are a perfect fit.
Okay, so if someone has high blood pressure, but they have it under control and they're on the meds, they could still qualify for this program?
Sure, absolutely.
What about those that what about asthmatics? If they have that under control, is that still something that they could do?
Absolutely, no problem whatsoever for any of that.
Is there any age restrictions on who you guys will accept and not accept?
Well, we're not really, but we're typically only going to people through the age of 64.
Okay.
Because, most people that turn 65 tend to go on to Medicare. But needless to say, some people are working into their late 60s and so on. So we'll take people that are active, but we're not seeking out retirees, in other words.
So what is what would be like the cost savings, just hypothetically?
Oh, it could be dramatic. I had a client, as a good example, who was in the Carolinas, and she happened to have a policy with a company of a major insurance carrier, and it was running her currently in November, December, about $900 a month. But she received a letter to tell her that it was going to be increased to $3,000 a month in January, and our price was actually about $300 and some dollars a month. So it was a pretty dramatic. In some instances, we're half the price, and others were about 1/5 of the price.
So basically, most of the time, you would say, what would you say, about 90% of the time, you can save people money by going this route?
Definitely can. The problem with the way that insurance is that there's so many stakeholders involved in insurance that they've driven the price so high. And we tell everybody, a lot of people say, well, your prices seem so low, what's the problem, or why is it so different? I tell everybody, but this is the reality of what prices actually are. We allow you to go to any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, and these are the actual costs. So the question really is, why are those other organizations charging so much?
Yeah, that is the question. But
that is the question.
So, is there certain areas in the country that they can get this coverage in, or
no? We're actually in all 50 states, so it's nationwide, and we don't discriminate on age. Unlike the insurance products, which discriminate based on your age. So, if you're 30 years old, or 40 years old, or 50 years old, it's a higher price for the same item. We're the same price whether you're 30 years old or 64 years old, and it doesn't matter what zip code. So, if you live in rural Iowa or downtown Manhattan, the price is the same.
Say, for instance, that if a person, I'm sorry, someone's sending a question to us. But if a person's working for a company right now and they are not satisfied with the large amount of premiums they're paying, they're able to opt out of that and come to the sharing. Is that possible? Is that doable?
Usually they can. Depending on, some insurance companies require participation requirements, meaning that they mandate that company has 70% of the employees buying the product type of thing, or else they can't maintain it. So in those instances, with cake, we're certainly a great alternative. Sometimes they may give that great price to the person that works at that place of business, but the spouse and the kids have to pay a high retail price, and we'll take the spouse and kids as a single parent arrangement and at least let them save money on that part of their equation.
Oh, wow. Okay, so basically, so if they're charging, okay, wow. Well, you know what? Here, Changing Community Broadcast.
But they may say, you work here, so we're going to give you that super great discount. But if you want to add your wife and kids as an example, then we're going to charge full price for them. Well, you take the deal because you're getting the employee discount, and then you have your wife and kids come with us and save money based on that.
That's amazing. So what about when it comes to medications and things of that nature?
Well, that's a unique situation. We're a little different than everybody else. We're a very bottom-up approach, which is quite old school. Years ago, the doctor would come to your house and take care of you, and you would pay him. And then now we suddenly have to drive to the doctor's office and have a little copay, but yet I'm paying this high monthly premium. So somehow the whole situation has become a bit perverted. So we work on a needs basis. So where we're a little different is we've got two kind of things that happen to you. Either you're doing something preventative, I'm getting a checkup, I'm getting a flu shot, those types of things. I'm just making sure I'm in good health. And then secondarily, I have a problem. I broke my leg, I had a heart attack, I had a car accident. In other words, something bad happened to me. So in those instances, that's considered a need. And in our program, you've got two options. You're going to decide when you sign up, I want to pay the first $500 of that need or the first $1,000. And then there's a cap, so there's only 3 needs in a year, ideally, that would happen to you. So if you're in the $500 version, then the most you would spend in a year is $1,500. But unlike a normal insurance where you may have a $5,000 or $6,000 deductible and everything has to add together until you get to that number, here we look at an individual situation. So if you broke your leg, you know it's going to cost more than $500. So the most you'll pay is that. So any drugs or medications related to that problem are all included, and the most you'll pay is $500. However, let's say you had a heart attack, and at the conclusion of all these surgeries and treatments and pain pills and whatever else you took, now the doctor says, you know what, you're cured, go home, don't come again, but I want you to take this one pill. That pill will pay for 120 days of those, but after that, you're on your own. We're going to help you get a special price, get them real cheap, and then we're going to let you pay for that with your health savings account and write that off on your taxes. It's a very ethical approach. It kind of contains everything. It keeps the pricing well in control. And most importantly, and this is a real secret to what we're doing here, is we put the consumer in control. Seemingly everybody looks to others. They look to the government or insurance for help. But, the ability is you really have the ability to help yourself. And so we figure what's best is to empower you to help yourself. Everyone's health is unique. No two people have the same health issues. Even if they're both diabetic, it's two different forms of diabetes. Their diets may differ and whatever, so it has to be customized. And so the whole idea of the most effective healthcare in America is to cater directly to the individual, not try to do an en masse, one-size-fits-all approach. That won't work when it comes to healthcare.
What are some of the key points you think that our listeners should know about this program?
Well, one, you have to realize that we are in control already. A lot of people think that they're at the mercy of what the government decides, and, if the Affordable Care Act was good, or if the Republicans are going to repeal and replace, and our whole lives are dependent on others, and that's a fallacy. There's freestanding MRI clinics, there's independent doctors, there's a million people that can't wait to help you directly. And so we tell everybody, you just need to start to think, what? I need to be controlling a change. When I buy gasoline, I decide where to go. No one tells me where to go buy gas. And so the same thing holds true with medical issues in America. And so we're just trying to help facilitate that.
So what we want to do is we want to definitely put your link on our web page and on our network as well, because me and Alveda love to help people in the community. And so many times I hear the complaints, especially by workers that work in government and government agencies and local municipalities, complaining about how absorbent their medical costs has been since that whole Obamacare thing. It's like they really raked the people over the coals, told them, hey, you have to have this insurance, and then the what they're charging them is just off the charts.
Well, you almost make it sound like they were deliberately trying to hurt people, and to not do that. I mean, the whole purpose of the Obama administration, everybody was to be helpful.
Right.
I mean, they really, really, truly, in their heart of hearts, wanted to help people. But they just didn't really understand the mechanics of it and the math of how business really works. And the problem was that they really didn't consult consumers and doctors when they made their decisions to create this act. They largely talked to pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, all the ones that had a financial stakeholder in this. And really, it's between you and me. And so that's really what we're all about, is trying to get back to that original equation and to tell the government, look, you can help us by leaving us alone. That would be the best help possible. Let us deal with doctors directly. Let's figure out what prices are, and competition invariably works. It's so simplistic to most everybody. If you go to a corner where there are 4 gas stations and watch how they battle it out over price, you as the consumer benefit by them having to fight to get you to drive into their station. And the same holds true with doctors or hospitals or surgical centers or MRIs or anything else. If we have the ability to know what prices are, we can be in control.
Yeah, I believe in the free market system. And
it works.
It works. Yes, it works. And the other thing is, I hate for the government to get involved in anything, because they'll take something, and once they get a hold to it, it's just unfortunate the way that they look at what they did with the healthcare. And I think that the intentions were well, but then they didn't understand how it worked, and now we're paying for it. And then the thing about it is that I think that some of the insurance company really took advantage of a situation, because when a person feels that they have to have it, so then they say, oh, well, if they have to have it, then I'm going to hike, I'm going to make the prices go up purposely. And I do understand the concept of, if I can't go out and insure my car and I know that it's been in an accident already and expect the insurance company to fix it, that doesn't even make any sense. And it's not fair.
I tell people, think of it this way. Imagine that your house is literally on fire and you call to ask for homeowner's insurance. Oh, but by the way, I have a claim right now.
You can't do that. I mean, you're going to get probably...
I appreciate your desire to do that, but you have to think about it from a business. If that was your business, I tell you, think of you and I owning an auto insurance company, and 1,000 people apply, and one gets a DUI every day. A person in our group of 1,000, we're going to hurt those other 999 responsible people because of the problems that one person brings to the table. That's not fair.
No, it's not fair at all. And then, if I selling homeowners insurance, same thing. I mean, if I'm setting fires, and everywhere I move, I'm setting a fire. But then I come there and say, oh, I think you have to give me insurance. And by the way, I had a fire last week. You can get to fix my kitchen. I mean, that almost borderlines on fraud, because I would have to not disclose it. You know what I'm saying? And so
it's totally true. The free market, and John Stossel's done a great job of describing this in the most simplistic terms. The free market is where you get a double thank you. The merchant thanks you for doing business with him, and you thank them for giving them a great product at a great price. Everyone's a winner in that equation. But what you just described is where I'm the consumer trying to get over on that insurance company, and if they're smart enough to know I'm trying to pull that nonsense, they're going to charge me prices to cover for that reality.
Yeah, they're gonna have to cover the risk. The money has to come from somewhere. It's not just not puff coming out of anywhere. It's coming from somewhere. So and then, like you say, why do we have to penalize? Everyone else have to be penalized because someone else is irresponsible.
Absolutely.
How many?
It's harsh. It sounds harsh when we're talking about health. You know, it's different if your house is on fire, you were negligent. Everybody go, oh, I appreciate that. But if you suddenly have this heart attack, but you never had insurance, and suddenly you want to get it tomorrow, and the minute that you sign up, they owe millions of dollars for your bill. How is that fair to the person that's had it responsibly for all these years and never made a claim?
No, it's not. It's not fair at all.
No.
How many offices do you guys have?
Offices where we actually have salespeople across the country.
Okay.
We basically maintain our main offices in Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
And that's our administrative area. And then we actually have physical salespeople across the country because, again, part of what we're trying to accomplish is be much more personal. I mean, again, your health is a personal thing. We're trying to make sure people have someone personally to deal with, personal doctors, not some monolithic entity where you call and you never know who's going to answer the phone and what's going to happen when you do call.
Okay, well, what we want to do is we want to put your link and everything on our website because we're proponents of helping people stay healthy. And then we want our wallet to be healthy as well.
Well, that's key. Your financial health is typically dependent on your physical health. And there's a great quip a doctor told me: it's easier to stay well than it is to get well.
Do you have a regular TV and television program where people can hear you?
We don't at the moment. We have some stuff that's releasing later in February, so we'll sort of stay in touch with each other as some things start to unfold.
Okay. Well, we're going to end this segment of Changing Community Broadcast, and it'll be a link showing you how to get in contact with them. All right. That's going to end the show. What I wanted to talk to you about is, and I'm looking at this from my executive producer and the rest of the people, they just sent me a message. We would love to have you on our network because...
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting proposition, frankly. And there's a lot to be done. You know, there's so many doctors and organizations that really want to try to help people. And they're so stifled in this current environment. It's such a shame. There's such an opportunity to improve pricing and access. But, you know, the powers that be, they want to keep control of all of this stuff. There's plenty of money in it for them.
Yeah, we do a lot of grassroots, and so this would be perfect.
It's always about money and power, sadly, in America. And we've allowed it to happen as consumers. We've lost sight of the realities of how the government is supposed to function for us.
Yes. So I'm going to make sure that the executive producer reaches out to you.
Please do.
And he's going to reach out to you. But thank you so much, and look forward to having you back on the show. And
fantastic. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, Emmanuel, Mama King, loving to get this information out to our listeners.
Where policy meets politics, with Alveda King and Emmanuel Boose.